So today is the 30th of March, 2020. And before I start the videos on scuba diving books, the 3-part series, I just wanted to make a quick little video for all of those who don't seem to understand when it comes to certain things. Because I've dealt with quite a few different people. Sometimes I know I can't be the only one who's been like, are you really? Okay, I guess biologically. So one of the biggest things that I dealt with, and I mean the amount of times that I had to defend the military, not just Republican aspects, and being a Republican, but actually defend the military guys, the law enforcement guys, the fire department guys, and their spouses and their children, just the whole kit and caboodle. I could not count because I do not have enough bones in my body, ligaments in my muscles, just fibers of my being, blood veins, just everything that there are not enough tattoos in combination with all of that for the amount of times that I have defended in, again, ironically, the state of Texas, that sort of stuff. No joke. And even still, jokes are based on truth. The amount of times I have had to defend those guys, what they deal with, be more respectful, be more tolerant. You preach tolerance, and then you are hypocritical with everything that you spew out of your mouths or you type and stuff. And it's just one of those, oh, I'm supposed to be more tolerant of your feelings, but you won't be tolerant of the guys who put their lives on the line. I don't know. I kind of have a difficulty understanding that. The amount of times I've dealt with, especially in the Austin community, especially the amount of I couldn't count the number of people and the number of times, because there were multiple people that I had to defend multiple times, the military guys and law enforcement guys and all that, to give those people who were complaining, and those people is a very, 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 very nice term for some of them, because sometimes I didn't even want to call them people. I didn't even want to call them human beings at times. So the amount of those where I had to, okay, so let me, I get a little heated on this because of my Medal of Honor art project, of course, and what occurred as far as the different traveling aspects, but then also the stuff that I dealt with in reference to my children, my son and my daughter, making sure my son was okay while everything that was going on with my daughter. And so with the COVID quarantine thing, it's one of those, okay, the amount of people that I've had to defend in times, not just myself, not just my children, obviously, because people would say, well, they'd bring up certain aspects of military stuff, and it's like, you don't even know. I mean, I'm not saying that I know. I mean, I didn't graduate basic training. I never took credit for something I didn't do. But I do know that there are plenty of guys, for example, with the quarantine status being changed from one time to another, from one time to another, from one time to another. And since it initially began, how many times have military guys been told, your deployment is to this date? We got to change it because of whatever's going on. Oh, your contract's over technically, but you're overseas. Well, the brigade you're with, the unit you're with. Well, we got to keep you over here because of this. Then, in taking into consideration not just that, but then, the spouses, the children that are like, oh, they're going to be home. Oh, no, needs in the military. Nope, you're not going to be back because of whatever's going on. Then taking into consideration law enforcement guys. Oh, I'm supposed to get off on this time and da-da-da-da, but something happens, so then can't get back in time because of whatever's going on. Not forgetting fire department guys. And, what is it? Recently, not as in like the past couple of weeks, but past at least month and a half, on my website, I wound up writing a journal blog entry. And that was a discussion I had not just in the state of Texas, but other areas. And that included Illinois before my head injury. When it came to people that were like, oh, well, minimum wage, go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com. Look up the journal blog entry when it comes to the pay. And all of those people who wanted to complain to me about what the hourly minimum wage is, take a look at what those guys make. And then tell yourselves truthfully that you deserve that. That you were complaining about. You want $12 an hour? Okay, well, look at the fact that military guys, law enforcement guys, and fire department guys and EMS guys, it is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on call. On call. That's not including actually working. That is just simply on call. And putting lives on the line just to save others. And then the amount of people that were like, oh, well, they chose that job. That was one particular point that I had a few, and it was usually females who came and said that, and I was like, oh, they chose. You're right. They did voluntarily choose to sign the dotted line. You're right. You are accurate. Would you prefer that it's absolutely mandatory for every male and female? Because realistically, and I did bring this up before writing about it, males are the only ones who are on draft when it comes to the, when they turn 18, automatically having to put their name for the draft. You want equal rights? Okay. And then when I said that, the females usually just were like, no, it's okay for, no. No. You want equal rights. Equal rights means equal rights. That does not mean equal here and kind of equal there and kind of ish equal there. No, it means equal rights all across the board. So if you want equal rights, if you want to do everything and all that sort of, then equal rights means equal rights. I can give a really, really good example for one of the earlier discussions on that, which would be with Christine from the Jade Wolf Coven. She told me that she believed in equal rights. She believed that females should be able to do everything a male can do. And I said, I agree with you in certain points. There are things that certain females just can't do. Unless there are females that are kind of, and I did say kind of Amazonian, where they could, like, irony of who all of my books are published through. Hi, Mr. Bezos and Amazon staff. I don't know if you know who I am, but hi. Irony. It's called Amazon, and then I said Amazonian back then, and I didn't even know there was Amazon back then. But anyway, not trying to be rude. Just anyway. I told Christine, I was not allowed to go into infantry because, I did say that I could do it. I did tell that MEP station guy I could do it, I could handle it, do things that he didn't understand that I could do. But I also told him I knew that there were other females who could do it. You just can't lower the standards because of and I did write about that in my first book that published through Amazon. But yeah, I did. I'm the one who said that multiple times. I am the one who wrote it too. I said, yes, if you are going to have females in the infantry, they better be trained the exact same way as males. Not like what occurred. I mean, yes, the biological aspect. Yes, certain aspects where, but there are plenty of females who will excel in that. And the best examples I can give, how many female police officers are there that can handle stuff that some of the male counterparts are like, whoa, did not, hey, dabs, cool. I see that. Same thing with firefighters. There are plenty of female firefighters. So, but you can't lower those standards. In reference to that sort of stuff, you can't. Because if you lower the standards, then that weakens the military. And you can't have that. You can't have a weak military. At the same time, you have to be cognizant of the different needs. And so while some females might think that they could handle doing certain jobs, not always. And there are plenty of males that I would guesstimate could probably say the same thing. I thought I could do this. How many guys wash out of the Rangers? How many guys wash out of, the SEALs? How many guys wash out of the Deltas? So on and so forth. And no offense towards them, they obviously tried. Which, but just there were certain things that they couldn't handle. And it's no offense towards them, they at least tried. But in reference to Christine and the Jade Wolf Coven, Christine tried to tell me that there was nothing that she could do while she was defending equal rights. There was nothing that she could do that would ever warrant herself, she said herself, to ever be put to the death penalty, because there would be hundreds of people who would fight for her because she's a female, she's a mom, blah, blah, blah. And I said, that doesn't mean anything. You better wish that you never, ever, ever do anything that you could ever actually find that out. Because I guarantee you, if you actually, depending on when you do it and what you do, I guarantee you, I hope that if you do something to that level, that you get prosecuted, and I hope there is not a single person who will fight for you, Christine. I hope that, because if you actually wind up doing something to the level where you actually earn that all by yourself or with whoever you do it with, I hope that I can prove you wrong. 100%. And she tried telling me, you care more about and this is before, mind you, this is before what happened to my daughter. Before my Medal of Honor art project, this is back in 2004, where she was telling me, you just care more about justice than you do about equality. No. I care about justice equally for all. So you want to speak to me and tell me that you believe in equality, and yet you don't want females to do certain jobs, which is not equal. Your reasons, excuses, that you are giving to me are that you think that females are too weak to do certain things. I agree with you in certain portions. There are certain females, just like there are certain males, who cannot handle certain jobs. It's realistic. There's no denying that. But there are plenty of females who can handle certain jobs. There are plenty of females who can do jobs, not just deliver children, that, males can't do, and vice versa. Just because a male is physically stronger in certain regards doesn't mean that he's any less of a human being and doesn't have his own stuff that he needs to deal with. Sometimes, believe it or not, even the most heterosexual guy actually needs someone that can listen and care and not just in a, and again, no offense to psychologists or psychiatrists, not just in that sort of way where they're literally paid for that, but someone who and not someone who, and a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists, I think that they go through that just to try to work through certain issues, and then that's a whole other tangent on that, right? But there are plenty of guys that are gur have done a whole bunch of stuff, and then like are they genuinely want someone that they can have like emotions and as I call it, girly stuff, because it's usually females that I have seen. I mean, there are very few males that I have seen get all, like that. And even in the LGBTQP communities, there have been times where I have seen females be far more emotional than anything that, ironically, the females would say that they were overly emotional about it. It's like, I don't understand that. I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense to me, because I'm watching you and listening to you complain about all sorts of stuff that makes absolutely no sense. And those guys, male and female, whatever their LGBTQP stuff, they legitimately have the right to be crying and upset, and you want to go and cry and be upset about like nothing, and that just makes no sense to me. Somebody wears a piece of clothing that you think blah blah blah, and they're actually like going through stuff. And I'm kind of gonna go with their side than yours. But going back on my little temper tantrum in reference to, and it's not really a temper tantrum because it's reality. To all of, and it usually was females. It usually was females who came at me when it came to the military stuff and law enforcement and fire department and EMS guys. It was usually those that came at me. There were some, I don't deny, that were in the LGBTQP section, but then we would talk. And when we would talk, it wasn't like with females usually, where it's we. We'd actually talk. We would actually discuss things and have different points of view. And sometimes I knew that they were LGBTQP, and other times it was just like, I know you're not attracted to me. You look good though, but I know you are not attracted to me. I know you have an allergic reaction to a certain vicinity, and that's cool, which essentially translates to that they are not interested in and that's fine. I'm not going to try to convert somebody to be into me when they're obviously going to have an allergic reaction to a certain area. So it's just one of those. That's fine. But we could talk. No problem. We could talk. But go back to the quarantine aspect, and before people start going and flying off the handle, it's one of those. If you ever complained about anything when it came to military, law enforcement, fire department, EMS, and it was an illegitimate complaint, seriously look at what is going on and self-evaluate yourselves. Because look at what you have said, look at what you have done. However far back you can go scroll through your techie stuff, or even in your own memories, and think about if you and I actually did have a conversation, discussion, whatever, although it was usually just a discussion or a talk. Yeah, no, I didn't have any full-fledged conversations with anybody, so not in that way, but think about that. How many guys, and since, this is the techie stuff generation, how many guys couldn't even use technology wherever they were at because of whatever they were doing? Couldn't even have, they had to have a base radio and not even a cell phone for what they were doing. And even that, they had to turn off. And only turn on, not just to save the battery life, but also so that way no frequency signals, just to keep them and their guys safe. And then, though there are plenty of jobs where you could not have a spouse. You couldn't even have a girlfriend realistically. And if you had a girlfriend, or you, because it usually was a male field for that sort of thing, unless that's changed recently. But as far as I know, it's still a male field where it's if you had a girlfriend, it couldn't be a girlfriend that you were going to wind up getting married to. Because if the military knew that it was like a serious thing, they knew that you wouldn't be able to keep your mind straight on what was going on. And if that relationship wound up going, so you would know how to fuel that in the right direction and hopefully make the right decision. Hopefully. But there are certain jobs that are just so dangerous that you couldn't have that permanency. Because, no offense towards the other individual, and not even offense towards the one who is doing the job, but having that type of a connection could be used against them and a dangerous aspect. So for those guys, and in comparison to the ones that wanted to complain to me, like, no, you don't understand. I know I haven't done these different jobs. I didn't graduate basic training. Obviously, no denying that. But there are those guys who have had those jobs, and at that time, and even now, have those jobs, where they don't necessarily have the same ability that you are complaining to me about, like I'm supposed to care. You want to tell me I care too much. Oh, how dare I care so much about the military guys? Oh, excuse me. Excuse me for caring about the military guys, that they make it, out of what they're doing safely as possible. Oh, yeah. Apparently that made me a horrible person to some of the people I dealt with. Literally, I was told I was a horrible person for caring about the military guys, whether they had a relationship and or children, whether they didn't have one, whether they only had parents, or whether they didn't have anybody at all. Apparently, according to some of the people that I was dealing with, I was considered a horrible person because I cared that they were as safe as they could be, and that they could be, doing their jobs but not getting hurt as best as they could. Like, I was literally told, usually in the BDSM community, Lady Dori Belle, how dare you care about them? Yeah, okay. I was told, not just by people in the community, even my now ex-boyfriend, Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr., you hate the military. No, I don't. You should. Why? Because look what happened to you. Yep. And? Well, you should hate everybody. That sounds like you're trying to project that onto me. And if you have issues with your stuff, that's for you to deal with, not me. I don't hate the military. I'm not happy with certain situations I dealt with. I don't hate the military. You should. I don't care. No. You should. I don't care what you think I should do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And, especially in reference to, ironically, the Austin community. Because it's in the state of Texas. The amount of individuals, again, usually female, that would come at me as a female, like, oh, how dare you, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I hope all those females, and if they were with some males, whatever, I don't care, they look at this situation and reevaluate themselves for every time that they complained. Every single time. Because realistically, again, military guys, law enforcement guys, fire department guys, EMS guys, look at the COVID-19 quarantine thing, okay? Those guys, wherever their jobs are, whether they're active duty and in the States or overseas. National Guard has been activated. Reservists, they have been activated before. There are plenty of reservists that are overseas right now or activated in the States. All those guys, they're by technicalities on quarantine status at all times, but they're not. It's a different type of thing. But for those that want to complain about certain aspects that are civilians specifically, then also when you think about all those guys, also think about their families, whether it's their parents, their aunts, their uncles, as well as if they've got a dependent or several, if they've got a spouse or if they've got children, or both. They don't know, like there are many individuals over the years that have known, yeah, my paperwork says I'm gonna, get out on this day, and then something happens. And they're needed to take care of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They usually get a check for that, though, or something that is an incentive after they complete whatever. They usually get something like, hey, you did awesome, so here, this is not everything, but here, we could at least do this for you, and actually do it, actually follow through with it, actually get them that sort of stuff. So for all those that want to complain, because I can feel that there are plenty of people. I haven't seen that many that have complained. I have complained. I don't deny that. I've complained and murmured to myself. But it doesn't change the fact that those guys are constantly dealing with that and constantly doing that. And then again, look at law enforcement. Look at fire department. Are you going to, whoever watches this and listens, are you actually going to say that they don't have family? You know they do. Again, there are fire department guys and law enforcement guys that cannot necessarily have a family or cannot necessarily have a spouse for certain jobs because of certain things. But doesn't mean that they don't have people they consider like family. It just isn't in the exact same way. And that includes those special ... guys, military-wise. And then, you look at the doctors, nurses, orderlies, different levels, and at this point, phlebotomists. So for all of those people that had complained about all those different things, and then also bringing up the minimum wage payment thing, well, what do you do? And then not in a denouncing sort of way, not being mean, just one of those for all those individuals that wanted to complain and say that they deserve a specific level. What do you do? What have you done? Where do you positively and helpfully contribute to society? Or do you just leech off of the system and complain? Because if you just leech off of my ex-sister-in-law, Susie Marie Nichols Lopez, she did all sorts of stuff to attempt to do whatever and complain to me that because I wouldn't go on WIC. Well, I did. I should apologize. I take that back. I went on WIC for a little bit. And then as soon as I could get off of it, I did. Because I knew that there were others that genuinely actually needed it. Unlike in what her situation was, where she would I just don't want to work because you don't work. And it's like, But I do. I actually do quite a bit that you don't know and you don't understand. And while at this point, yes, I have more recently put that out there as far as what I have done, but I also knew that when I would have those discussions and talks with people, that those people knew who to talk with, knew who to get that sort of stuff done. There were guys who had far more understanding and intelligence levels as far as their studies, their work, and stuff like that than I ever could. And so, not saying that I'm whatever, but, it's one of those. For example, I didn't tell Susie Marie Nichols Lopez or Mary Evangelina Nichols Osteen or my biological family that when 9/11 happened, nobody, even my now dead ex-husband, didn't know what I did. Even he had no idea that when I had spoken with the Air Force tech guy, all he saw was he thought I was cheating on him. No, I wasn't. I never did. Never slept with him, never anything. He and I talked about a whole bunch of stuff. So the amount of people that my own children, my son and daughter, had no idea until I admit when it comes to my first two books. But nobody in my life at that time, up until I think the first time I actually told somebody what I did on that day, I know it was military guys. I know it was military guys. And it, if I'm not mistaken, it was probably either 2010 or 2011 was the first time I actually told somebody what I did on that day. Up until then, nobody I knew, no place I went, nobody I spoke with had the slightest, unless they had clearance by technicalities. But I didn't bring it up because there were other things that were going on. But if you take a look at like those different discussions and talking stuff over the years, as much as I defended military guys well before getting into my Medal of Honor art project, nobody can truthfully say that they didn't see that coming. Not truthfully. Not truthfully. I don't. And, it is what it is on that. It's not to make light of it, but it's also not to denounce it either. So as people, the toilet paper flying off the shelves and the paper towels and all that sort of stuff, you want to complain about certain things? No, you can't. And I mean, you can, you have the right to, but what good is it going to do? So instead of only looking at one or two things, why don't you see what you could do to be more beneficial? How many people have been, okay, I can't leave home, but they have the finances, hey, that's cool, and they can donate it to where, the guys get food or, for being on shift or whatever. Or, they donate supplies or they do this or they do that. realistically. You know, and that's cool. It'd be nice if I had a blank check to be like, yeah, so I could do this, and here's that, and actually, you know, cash, not, you know, not have it bounce. Never want to have that bounce. I don't know. I'm one of those weird people. I don't want to owe more than I have to. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm weird like that. Maybe, I don't know. I thought that was kind of more normal, but whatever. But, you know, I also would rather have people owe me than the other way around. So I've been like that since before my head injury. Before my head injury. As a child and as a teenager, mm-hmm. Rather you owe me than me owe you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It has been so, but going back to the aspects of the different stuff, it's one of those. You, as whether you are a civilian, whether you are a dependent, whether you are a spouse, or whether you are in whatever of those professions that are literally out on the front line right now during the COVID-19 first, for the ones that are out on the front line, thank you. Stay safe and healthy and all that. But also for the ones that are not out on the front line, but deal with those who are on the front line. Thank you. Stay safe. But also, you know, don't give them as much of a hard time when they come home and they're tired. They don't necessarily want to speak. They've seen and dealt with enough. I've discussed that with military, especially when it comes to that sort of discussion back then. But now, yeah. And then, you know, for the ones that are not out on the front line and are just dealing with what's going on, well, either self-evaluate yourselves and see what you could do to better yourselves as well as society, or, you know, I don't know what else there is. I can't think like that. I know I've dealt with a bunch of complaints, but I don't deal with that very well. I have tolerated those complaints, and even then that was but yeah. And then also look at the ones, okay, so you got prisoners, right, that cannot be released, and they could be of all different types. If they have done their time, but because of certain things, they cannot be released because of making sure that they get into the correct housing setup so that they're okay before going out into society. Think about that. Think about those guys. You know, like, I mean, and you know, if they've already paid their debts to society and they've been told they're going to get out, and it's not like it's the first time that that's happened to somebody. But during this situation, it's one of those, let's be realistic here, people. And I mean that in an overall sort of way, and despite certain. So that's what I had to say. I was throwing a temper tantrum. That's my temper tantrum. Ta-da. Apparently that's their temper tantrum. So